Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for attending our very first webinar of our longevity series. And just so you all know, this webinar will be recorded and also available on YouTube. So if you have to go early or miss any parts, we will have it recorded as well. My name is Frida. I'm one of the registered dietitians here at Create Cures Foundations, which is located here in Santa Monica, in California. I did my undergraduate degree in nutrition and my master's in nutrition, health span, and longevity. And I'm actually currently pursuing my PhD in clinical nutrition. And I'm very enthusiastic and very passionate about preventive or to prevent chronic diseases. So most age-related diseases really through personalized nutrition and fasting, and really using strategies to optimize health span and longevity for both brain health and for our bodies. So today we're very excited to dive into the longevity diet and to learn more about how we can really optimize our lives.
Yay, thank you, Frida. Oh, it's so awesome to get to be here. My name is Katie Reines. I'm also a registered dietitian with the Create Cures Foundation. From a young age, I've been fascinated with longevity and prevention of cancer. In high school, I actually wanted to become a dietitian because of this plant-based restaurant that I discovered that was built due to a cancer diagnosis. And just learning more about how nutrition plays such a role in our health, it really inspired me to become a dietitian and to get my master's in human nutrition. And I did my master's thesis on plant-based nutrition and cancer. And that led me to work with Frida at the Create Cures Foundation, where we're really excited about preventative steps that we can take, and maybe even further steps that we can take to prevent the progression of disease using natural, more holistic approaches, which is so exciting. Today, we're going over, of course, what is the longevity diet, the 5 pillars to this longevity diet, going over different recipes, a little bit about fasting and lifestyle factors, as well as contrasting the longevity diet versus the Mediterranean diet. And be sure everybody pay attention. There is a quiz at the end and a Q&A session. So there is a little button next to the chat box button that says Q&A. Throughout this, please ask your questions in the Q&A and answer throughout. When I ask you a question, you can answer in the chat box, but ask your questions in the Q&A because we'll be answering those questions at the end, all right? Exciting. What is the longevity diet? We don't just want to live longer, we want to live healthier longer. We want to be able to hang out with our grandkids and go on hikes, right? We don't want to just be stuck at home feeling like absolute fatigue and just not feeling good. It is possible to live this way, to live exciting and a long, happy, healthy life. And the longevity diet, it was founded by Dr. Walter Longo. He's the director of the Longevity Institute at the University of Southern California. He is one of the leading researchers in longevity, and he's put together and coined this term, the longevity diet, based on lots of different research. Ooh. If you could please open up your chat box. Thank you, everybody who's participated already. Open up your chat box and answer this question. Yes or no? Would you like to live healthier longer? Type yes in the chat box if that sounds like something that you're interested in. Yes, yes. Sherry, Darren, Cameron, Valeria, Tim, yes. Brian, looks like everybody's really interested in this. Hey, Tracy, welcome. Yes, we want to live healthier longer. So I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for paying attention and participating. So let's get clear on how powerful this really is. The health effects of dietary risks in 195 countries. This is the Global Burden of Disease study in 2017. This was a huge research study. And what it showed was that 11 million deaths were related to suboptimal nutrition. This was looking at adults over 25 years old. It went over 15 dietary risk factors, including diets that were low in fruits, low in vegetables, and higher in red meats and processed meats. A systematic review, this was a huge systematic review, showed that diet improvement could prevent 1 in 5 deaths globally. over 195 countries. This is unbelievable that just by eating a little bit better, we could prevent 1 in 5 deaths around the world. How crazy is that? A couple more studies that have similar findings, 90%, and this was just January 2022. The CDC, there was a whole thing on the news and everything. The CDC statistics, 90% of Americans do not eat the recommended 2 to 3 cups of vegetables. So sad, right? 90% of Americans not eating 2 to 3 cups of vegetables every day, knowing that this could be preventing 1 in 5 deaths worldwide just from eating some more vegetables. Another huge meta-analysis. This meta-analysis went over 95 studies, about 2 million people. This was also in 2017. This concluded that we could prevent all causes of death. It compiled together all the different causes of death by 31%, eating 8 to 10 servings of fruits and vegetables combined. So that's about 2 to 3 cups of vegetables, right? About 4 servings of fruit and 4 servings of vegetables. How unreal is that? Preventing deaths by about a third by eating that, just some more fruits and vegetables. We can do this. Answer in the chat box, please. Do you think that you are somebody who eats about 2 to 3 cups of vegetables every day? That's about 4 servings of vegetables every day. Darren says yes. Brian, yes. Laura, yes. All right, we got some longevity diet people on here. I love it. I see a couple of my patients in here, which is awesome. I'm so happy and relieved to read that you say yes. Sherry says often, fantastic. And this is also about starting where you are. That's why you're here, right? If you don't do this quite yet, that's why you're here, right? We're here to get inspired, to get motivated to do this. This is very important. This is medicine, truly, truly. I try. Thank you. Thank you for being honest. Thank you, Cameron. Thank you for being here. Emily says no. Well, we're at the end of this presentation. I hope you feel motivated and like you have the tools in your toolbox to, thank you, Emily, to make that happen. So what is the longevity diet? This longevity diet, what the best evidence tells us will help us live healthier longer. It's plant forward, so it's mostly plant-based, a little bit lower in protein than most people might expect, unless you're over the age of 65, lower in saturated fat, ancestor friendly, and it is time restricted. And I'll be going over these in more detail in just a second. So longevity diet recommendations, plant forward. What that means is instead of including things like eggs with your breakfast every day and a piece of meat with every meal, this is going to be utilizing plants as a source of protein and that make up the majority of the diet. So looking for proteins from beans, chickpeas, peas, and legumes as main protein sources. And this is also because when we're working with our patients, we realize that when we have a lot of animal protein, this correlates with an increase of growth factor. An increase of growth factor, it correlates with increased aging, increase of potential cancer growth. It's very, very fascinating. So we're seeing that those gentle plant-based sources of protein help with longevity. Lower in protein. So keeping protein on the lower end, about 10% of calories if under the age of 65. Over the age of 65, we might be at risk for becoming frail, for losing muscle mass. So it's going to be a good idea to get in a little bit more protein as we get older. Lower in saturated fat. So maximizing good fats. When it comes to saturated fat, this can really lead to inflammation, to clogging up our arteries and our blood vessels, which can of course lead to heart disease and Alzheimer's disease. We want all of our blood vessels to be open and flowing, and having healthy fats from plants like nuts, seeds, olive oil, low mercury fish a couple of times a week. So that looks like sardines, anchovies, and of course, complex carbs. We want to have healthier plant-based sources of fat, not saturated fat from red meats and processed meats. Ancestor friendly. So the longevity diet, our ancestors probably did not eat Funyuns or frozen pizzas, right? Think about what did our ancestors eat? They probably ate really wholesome ingredients. And thinking about your culture as well. If you are from Spanish descent, it probably would not make sense to be eating a lot of bread and cheese like they eat in France, something like that. We want to eat how our ancestors ate. And lastly, time restricted, not eating all hours of the day and night. Consider eating less frequently and confining eating from a 12-hour window. So before our first meal, we want to have fasted about 12 hours before our first eating occasion. All right, the 5 pillars. This is so important to witness what makes the longevity diet what the best evidence tells us. This isn't just another diet. This isn't just a fad. This is a huge compilation of a bunch of different research styles and research, just so much research. So first of all, this all brings together what is a longevity diet. The study of staying young, the study of juventology, how and why we stay young. Looking into this, it's really important instead of just thinking about how and why we get older. Okay, so putting that research into account, as well as epidemiology, which investigates factors determining presence or absence of diseases and disorders, right? So we need to look at populations and seeing the presence and absence of diseases and what are different populations doing to prevent disease. Of course, clinical studies are performed in people in a clinical setting. This isn't just studies underneath a microscope with cells interacting. This is with human research in the clinic, in the hospitals, very, very high quality research. Centenarian studies, as you can see this photo, Dr. Walter Longo really getting into the blue zones, which is the areas around the world where people live to be over 100. And these are so important to bring into the longevity diet approach to see, wow, these are living examples. This is possible. What are they doing? Bringing that research into it. And then, of course, the study of complex systems. We are not robots. We are human beings. There's a lot of different things going on. It's very important to think of a holistic approach and bring all of the complex systems together to create recommendations for our patients. And I know what you are all thinking. Oh no, I mean, it seems like a lot of you have already been doing a wonderful job eating more plant forward and a little bit less protein. Could be overwhelming for a lot of people. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do without my chicken? And what am I supposed to do without my eggs every day? Here is a menu going over lots of different options. As you can see on Monday, we've got steel cut oats and some different types of toast, some acai bowl. Okay, these are breakfast options, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But as you can see, there's so many things: wraps, pasta dishes, stir-fry dishes, sandwiches, casseroles, soups. The possibilities are endless. We don't have to feel like we're restricting or feel overwhelmed like there's nothing to eat. All right. And here's a few examples of recipes. I invite you to Control-Shift-3 and take a screenshot of these. So here's a recipe for steel cut oats. As you can see in the ingredients, it includes 3 tablespoons of chopped walnuts or ground flax. These are very important. We don't want to have quote unquote naked carbs. We don't want to just eat a huge bowl of oatmeal without any source of fat, without any sources of protein. If we're just eating quick oats or the oats that are in the little packet, that's going to have a lot of added sugar and you might have a blood sugar spike. So it's going to be a good idea to combine with almond milk and some walnuts to help slow down any blood sugar spike. And fresh fruit like berries are great to add because that also blunts a blood sugar spike and adds great antioxidants. Here's another wonderful recipe. Please Control-Shift-3, Mediterranean spelt salad. So when we think whole grains, a lot of people are like, okay, bread, pasta, spelt. There's so many different whole grains out there. There's millet, amaranth, teff. There's lots of different whole grains. And here's an example of one of them. And instead of eating it in a form of a cracker or bread or pasta, we're simply boiling the whole grain. So the fibers are all intact and it's very minimally processed. And this has lots of different veggies, those olives, get that healthy fat in there. Absolutely fantastic, really, really simple. And then here's one more recipe. It's so nice to make soups when you cook a soup, all of the nutrients, you're going to eat them, right? Because you're not draining away the water, the cooking water that some nutrients might be lost in. And it's just like one pot meal, just throw it all in the pot and let it cook. Very, very simple, easy, and so many veggies. So I hope that this helps you feel like you have some tools in your toolbox to get going with this. So after all of that, please open up your chat box one more time. What is one longevity diet meal idea that you will try this week, that you know for sure that you are eating this week? And I know my patients already got this dialed in. Please tell me what you got going on this week, but anybody else, of course, as well. Farro salad, ooh, that sounds good. Nice. Oatmeal, great idea. Yeah, make sure to combine that ground flax seeds or the walnuts in the oatmeal. I do sheep's milk yogurt with walnuts and blueberries. Interesting. Great. Walnuts and blueberries. Fantastic. Nice salad. A lot of people dig in the oatmeal recipe. Yeah. Honestly, oatmeal is one of the best things to add to your diet. If you simply add oatmeal with a meal of like sausage, egg, and cheese, that oatmeal has such incredible soluble fibers in there that it can really blunt a lot of issues from eating something else unhealthy. Giant salad with lots of veggies, beans, cooked veggies, and nuts. Fantastic. Salads, we got whole grain dishes, that oatmeal recipe. Very, very cool. Thank you so much for sharing, everybody. All right, so Frida is going to continue with the rest of the presentation.
All right. Thank you so much, Katie, for sharing all this interesting and very important information, and also all this really great creative recipes. So hopefully some of you or all of you have some ideas now what the longevity diet looks like, and maybe even inspired to try some new recipes, which I see in this chat box. So that's wonderful. So now we do know what the longevity diet consists of and what some meals may look like, but why should someone really follow this eating pattern? What benefits can it really provide to us? And so first of all, it's very nutrient dense, and we get so many nutrients per calorie. So the food is actually a pretty large volume. So it may seem like you're eating a lot, but because it's so nutrient dense and it's very low in calories, it's still low in calories, but you get all these extra nutrients and a lot of fibers. So many great, it's a great way to really get a lot of nutrients per calorie. All the fibers, super great for the digestive system. This longevity diet benefits a variety of conditions because of all the nutrients in it, and it really promotes health span and longevity, so the quality of life and living longer. And another very important focus of the longevity diet is the focus on high quality foods. Sorry, I couldn't hear. And I usually like to think of, as Katie mentioned earlier, like what foods did your ancestors really eat? So most likely your ancestors did not eat at the fast food chain on the corner or any food that really has a nutrition facts label with a lot of ingredients. Like now most foods does have a nutrient facts label, but there's difference in how many ingredients are listed on the label. So if you see a label with many ingredients, it means that the food is very processed, so it's not really recognizable. So we want to try to focus on whole foods. And if you think of a broccoli, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't have a nutrient fact label on it. So you can kind of use a little bit common sense when you look at a food, like, does this have a nutrition facts label? And if it does, now some healthy items do have a nutrition facts label, but you can look at how many ingredients is on it. So I just like to use it as like a guidelines if your ancestors ate it or did they not eat it, to just kind of navigate if how healthy a food might be. And why is high quality foods important? Like I was mentioning, we want to make sure we get all the nutrients our body needs to function optimally. All right, so fasting is a big topic these days. We hear a lot about it. So to just define the term fasting, it means nothing by mouth. And this includes no food, no beverages, not even water. That being said, nowadays there's so many more different types of fasting regimens that are developed. So that may include water, or maybe there's some intermittent fasting, alternative day fasting. I'm not going to go into all the different types of fasting, but I want to talk about some of the benefits, and that's why fasting has become so popular. So fasting does trigger many changes in our body, and this can slow down aging by keeping our cells healthy. So the benefits of fasting really changes. I mean, these changes occur on a cellular level when the body is in a fasting state. So also, when we think from an evolutionary perspective, there was time where we ate a lot, and then there was time we didn't really have food. So when we didn't have food, that was when our body really got the chance to rejuvenate and really clean out all the cells that have been accumulated. So any type of like cellular damage. And so these benefits and changes from fasting promote a longer and healthier life. So from cellular repair perspective, so the cells are removing the more waste than it can cause accumulation of damaged cells. There's gene expression, so changes occur in genes, which can promote longevity and prevent disease. There's hormonal changes. Fasting can really fight inflammation in the body. And also it can really help you even lose weight, which then in turn improves your health and can prevent you from certain chronic diseases that could have shortened your life. So we see that fasting does have a lot of benefits. All right, so please comment in the chat box. Do you fast between 12 and 14 hours before your first meal? Yes, every day. Yes. Great. Yes. Yep. No. Yes, I'm sure not everyone will fast 12 hours before the first meal, but the reason for yeah, Katie, if we go to the next slide. So the thing with the 12 to 12 hour eating window, the reason I really like it and that we recommend this with the longevity diet is because it's a very realistic picture. So if we think of eating breakfast at 8 a.m., then you have your last meal eaten, like done eating, not starting at 8 p.m., but done eating at 8 p.m. That means you have a 12-hour eating window during the day, and you will have a 12 hours window during the night where you're fasting. So I like the 12 to 12 because it's not too advanced. Like, it's very realistic. If you have a family, you have kids, you have work, or you're basically, yeah, you have a life. It's doable. However, if you want a more advanced type of fasting and shorter windows, there's other more individualized approaches that are possible to recommend as well. But I like this 12 to 12 one. And we also want to avoid eating between 3 and 4 hours before bed. And this is because it really will allow the body to digest the food before you lay down. Because if you think of eating a big dinner and then you just lay down right away, we don't want to create like an upset stomach, any digestion issues, and potentially even acid reflux. So we want to make sure the food is digested and you rested before you go to bed. So I think those are two good guidelines to go for around the meal timing. And then when it comes to supplements, we always want to emphasize getting most nutrients from food. It's going to be absorbed better from our bodies. However, it happens that maybe one day we don't get all the nutrients we need. So that's why we recommend a multivitamin and an omega-3 gel every 3 days. So not every day, because again, we want to get it from the food. But if it happens that a day you don't get the most healthiest meal, well, then at least you got it through a supplement. So that's another little point to keep in mind. All right, lifestyle. So the longevity diet, it's so much more than just the food. It's really about the whole picture. So we want to think of exercise, movement, super important. We want to get that walk in. We want to focus on aerobic training. So get the endurance, the heart rate up a little bit. Weight training is another big one. We want to challenge our muscles or bones by having weight bearing exercises incorporated into our routine. Brain exercises is also super important. Our brain is also such an important organ. We want to keep it sharp and make sure we are challenging our brain as well. Sleep, very important. And we do know from the longevity diet and by following such a healthy approach of living, that will transfer into other aspects of your life, as well as improving the quality of your sleep as well. The community, we want to be around positive people. We don't want to be around negative energy that is sucking out all the energy you have. So make sure to try to surround yourself with positive and a supportive environment. And then finally, having a purpose is so important. I love that one. It's why do you wake up in the morning, and trying to really find the purpose of life, basically. So that's another important part of the lifestyle. Great. So you may have noticed that there are certain similarities between the longevity diet versus the Mediterranean diet. And you're completely right. There's a lot of common patterns here. They both emphasize good fats such as olive oils. Legumes, for example, is another thing they both focus on. They also both want to avoid any refined grains and, again, processed foods. Both emphasize complex carbohydrates, and it's okay to include wine in moderation. However, I don't like to focus on that one too much because I feel it's often taken a little bit out of context, like, oh, they are recommending drinking a lot of wine, and that's not what it's saying at all. It's saying, well, maybe a little glass is okay, like it's not going to hurt to have a little bit of red wine. So that's another common or a similar pattern. However, for the longevity diet, it's a little more specific guidelines in terms of how much protein are recommended for different age groups. It's addressing more about the muscle mass. It also have this time restricted feeding window, which is the 12 to 12 hours that I was mentioning. Whereas the Mediterranean diet allows for a little more flexibility and are not really specifying these things, which means that although the Mediterranean diet is really emphasizing very good food, but if it's eaten in excess, like any diet really, it may be some negativities with that too. So they're both great. So I just wanted you to see some of the similarities and some of the differences. So, all right, now we're getting into the quiz time.
Yes, time for a quiz. Okay, open up your chat box again. Okay, should adults under the age of 65 years old eat a high protein diet? No. Tim says no. Brian, no. Darren, no. Great. Tracy, Emily, fantastic. Looks like you all paid attention to this one. We want to keep the protein about 10% of calories on the lower end until the age of 65. Once we're at 65 years old, a little bit more protein is recommended. Question number 2, what is one animal product recommended with a longevity diet? Non-mercury fish, good. So I like to use the acronym SMASH. So that's sardines, mackerel, anchovies, salmon, and herring. Those smaller fish, wild caught, tend to be lower in mercury. About 4 ounces to about 2 to 3 times a week is really all we recommend. Fantastic. Good job, everybody.
All right, so next question is, how many hours should you fast daily after dinner? 12, 12, 12, great. So yes, this will be with the time restricted window. We want to make sure we have at least 12 hours of rest after dinner, assuming the dinner is the last meal of the day. Great. So the fourth question is, what makes the longevity diet different from other diets? Low in refined carbohydrates, I think it said, yeah, disappeared. Time restriction, low protein. Yeah, so as I was mentioning, there are some similarities, but the main differences are really the time restricted feeding window, which the longevity diet is recommended, and also the protein levels. They specify a little bit more. Great job.
Yes, awesome job. And we are so excited about the future webinars to come. This was just the tip of the iceberg, getting into so many topics with nutrition. Our next topic is protein. Are you getting enough? And we're going to be busting some myths out there about protein, about soy, and things like that. And that is scheduled at the moment for the 25th of May. So put that on your calendar. Be on the lookout for emails. And yeah, I hope to see you at the future webinars. Here's just some references that we use today. And let's go ahead and answer questions that you had. So
yeah, sorry, Katie. I just wanted to add, so after the Q&A, if you have any other questions, please email us and to the following email on this page. And also please check out our website. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Yeah. So back one slide to webinars. Here. So Laura asked back one slide. Was it this for the other webinars? Okay. So Laura asks, low protein question mark. I'm doing about 1 or 1.2 grams per kilogram. So in general, the recommendation for adults, and this is the general recommendation for your daily allowance, your daily need for protein is only 0.8 grams per kilogram. So having 1 to 1.2 grams per kilogram, this is more in alignment with muscle conditioning. If you're more active throughout the day, maybe you do need more protein. Maybe if you're over the age of 65, this is a good amount. But in general, the recommendation is 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight for most people to be healthy. And a little bit less or a little bit more might be good. What would you say, Frida? Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, I think you covered it pretty well.
Okay.
Good answer. Yep.
The next question is from Brian. Sometimes while traveling, I don't eat as we see when I'm home. Will taking plant sterols help me control high cholesterol? So I hear you that it's tough to eat well while traveling. And this is actually, I think that traveling could be a great opportunity to practice fasting if you're just sitting in an airplane. We don't necessarily want to be eating too much when we're just sitting around. And instead of taking, I'm not sure about taking plant sterol supplements, but when it comes to high cholesterol, just having a bowl of oatmeal can help a lot, honestly. I wrote a book, it's titled The Heart Disease Cookbook. And when it comes to taking a supplement for high cholesterol, I recommend things like soaked chia seeds, oatmeal, like simple foods, plant-based foods are very, very, very powerful at helping to control high cholesterol. So
yeah. And really focusing on fiber-rich foods.
Yeah,
I think it's important. Yep.
Yeah.
I can do Laura's question here. So recommended fats for someone with epilepsy, bacon, okay, or cream. So I think, so the ketogenic diet, which is very high in fat, was originally developed for patients with epilepsy. So I'm wondering if that's where this question is coming from. There are research has shown that there are definitely certain fats that may improve with it, but I think this is a question that you should consult with your doctor about. But yeah, Katie, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, when it comes to epilepsy, it is possible to do a more plant-forward ketogenic approach. And I still would recommend more sources of fat coming from plants, right? So instead of bacon and cream, because bacon, there's no fiber, right? There's a lot of carcinogens in there. It's a processed meat. it's really directly related with a lot of diseases. It's going to be a better idea to eat plenty of vegetables with things like avocado, olive oil, nuts like walnuts, macadamia nuts, Brazil nuts. Like there's lots of sources of fat in the plant kingdom that I would for sure recommend instead. But I agree, I'm not the epilepsy keto expert. So maybe talk with your doctor more about that.
Yep. So the next question, what type of omega-3 supplements are recommended and how much every 3 days? So the normal recommendation, it varies a little bit, but between 250 and 500 milligram per day, which is usually combined of EPA and DHA, two different types. So yeah, I would follow the dosage on the label, but between 250 and 500 milligrams.
Yeah, that was a great answer. Awesome. Question, why are eggs so low on these diets? Ooh, I love this question. I get this question a lot. So we, of course, when it comes to protein being low, I know I personally was raised with the marketing and with the belief that, oh, protein, more protein, the better. We want high biologic value protein. The most high biologic value protein is in eggs, egg whites. And we would think that's a good thing. Like bodybuilders are like, oh, I want to grow my muscles, so I want to eat plenty of eggs. And, oh, I'm not harming an animal. This must be a clean, healthy source of protein. For some people in some unique situations, for sure, eggs are probably going to be helpful. When it comes to longevity, when it comes to cancer, when it comes to most people preventing disease and living healthier longer, we want to decrease growth factor. We do not want growth factor increasing. Eggs, because they're so high biologic value protein, which means they're so closely related to the proteins in our body and absorb very quickly, we don't want to be eating eggs. We don't want to be eating high biologic value proteins that are going to spike growth factor. We are already grown up. We don't need growth factor. If we're increasing growth factor, we're exacerbating aging. We are exacerbating potential growth of mutated cells like cancer cells. Okay.
Yeah.
So eggs are, thank you. If you could, thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, or you touched on it, but all animal products in general will spike the insulin growth factor more because it has, like Katie said, a higher biological value, but also has all the essential amino acids, which of course it sounds like it's great to get all the essential amino acids, but because it's spiking your IGF-1, the insulin-like growth factor more as well. That's why we want to focus on plant foods and getting proteins from plants versus animal products such as eggs.
Yes, that was awesome. I was wondering if taking supplements like melatonin or CBD outside my 12-12 window is breaking my fast. Okay, well, I think it's best to do whatever it takes to help you sleep. If you really are having trouble sleeping, that should be fine. And like Frida was saying earlier, when it comes to fasts, a lot of people consider a fast no water. There's a lot of different ways to eat. There's a lot of different types of ways to fast, as Dr. Longo says. Frida, do you want to add to that?
No, I think that's a good answer. And like when people ask like breaking my fast, like actually, like you just mentioned, anything you're eating is like theoretically breaking the fast because you're consuming something. But I want to look at what is the goal with the fasting. So if the goal is, for example, rejuvenation, longevity, like the fact of taking melatonin is not gonna break that type of fast or that reaching that goal. So you need to look at the bigger picture. Like if melatonin is going to help you have a great night's sleep, then it will be worth it. So that shouldn't be a problem.
Fantastic. Yeah. It looks like we also have, there's more questions here. How long after finishing radiation can I start doing longer fasts again? With this question, I actually would love to, this is a type of question that we would need to learn more about you. And we do have spots open for more patients at our clinic. So this is a really great opportunity for sure. Send us an email, go on our website, sign up for a consultation. This is more like one.
Sorry, Katie. Yeah, I was just gonna say, when it comes to fasting, like there's so many individualized factors that we have to take into consideration. Like, what is the person's condition? Are they going through any disease? What are their weight? Are they underweight? We wouldn't recommend, for example, fasting for someone who is underweight or malnourished. So we want to, if we're ever doing a fast, it needs to be in a nourished state, so not in a malnourished state, because that is actually close to starvation, which is very harmful and something completely different than fasting. So it's important to like, it's very difficult to just throw out recommendations for fasting without really talking to the person who is interested in doing a fasting regimen.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. Frida, would you like to read the next couple of questions?
Sure.
It looks like there's questions in the chat box as well. We still have about 15 more minutes.
Actually, I think so. Okay, so if the goal with the fast is to really, for example, if someone are undergoing radiation, and the goal is to really clean out all the cellular damage, again, it's very individualized on other factors, like what is the weight of the patient, weight trends. So it's, yeah, again, difficult to answer this question. Yeah, I think we covered all the questions, Katie.
Okay. There's a couple in the chat box.
Oh, I see. I didn't see this.
How many eggs per week is on a longevity diet? So I would say that that's not necessarily, you know, it's not recommended. If you want to have a couple of eggs, maybe once or twice a week. It depends though. If you're really struggling with a specific prognosis, I might be more strict about that recommendation.
Yeah. And also, if you're above 65, then it's okay to have a little bit more protein.
Right. Right. And looking at the rest of your day, how much protein are you taking in? At the clinic, we use a professional nutrient analysis account called Chronometer, where we can see how much our patients, what they're eating, how much protein they're taking in, and we can make recommendations like, hey, look, we tried those eggs. It looks like you're getting way too much protein, or, those eggs are fine. So it really is individualized. What's the next question? What form of soy is okay as meat replacement? Definitely make sure it's organic, and fermented is the best form of soy. So things like tempeh or tofu are going to be better because they are fermented. Often people have a better time digesting that. And when it comes to soy has actually been shown to be really helpful for prevention of cancer. There's isoflavones in there, antioxidants in there, fibers in there that can help prevent cancers like breast cancer, which is a common misconception that we'll go over in the next webinar. But when it comes to soy as meat replacement, there's a lot of, think about what would your ancestors eat? Would your ancestors eat a soy-based chorizo or soy-based cheeses? Probably not. Having some of these a little bit in moderation to help you overcome cravings for things like dairy and meat can be really, really helpful. But in general, we don't want to be eating too much super processed foods that are soy-based. Yeah. Did you want to add anything to that, Frida?
No.
Okay.
We covered it.
Maybe there's this question, Frida. Is longevity diet ideal for weight or body fat loss?
Yeah, absolutely. So by following this type of diet, and also it's important to think of what are you comparing it to, what's the baseline, what did you eat prior to starting this longevity diet. So if a person is already eating super clean, maybe similar type of diet, then maybe there won't be as much weight loss. If you're eating like a typical Western standard American diet with more processed food, definitely it's gonna lead to weight loss for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. This is just like Frida mentioned earlier, that this is very nutrient dense and it's full of fiber. Like it's, you'll feel like you're full, you'll feel like you're eating so much food, and you'll be able to get to an optimal weight really simply by just being intuitive, because these foods are so nutrient dense that yeah, you won't have to be stressing about overeating on calories like that happens with processed foods and foods that are designed to make you crave more.
Yeah, exactly.
It looks like we have this question. Can you discuss the recent study on the time restricted eating in New England Journal of Medicine? I personally cannot. I have not looked into that study yet. I don't know, Frida.
Yeah, I have it, but I know it was comparing time restricted eating compared to daily calorie restriction, and they were looking at obesity and like really the body fat, I believe, and the metabolic factors. But if you can email us with specific questions, that would be great. And I will be happy to answer that for sure.
Yeah, so here is our emails. I just put the slide back up. If you want to take a photo of it, screenshot it, definitely go to our website, ask any further questions you have. I love being a resource for my patients. Please, if there's any questions, concerns, if you'd like to set up a one-on-one consultation with one of us, we would love to have you. We would love to help. We really help such a range of prognoses and even simple wanting to feel confident in your health, not just a year from now, but 10 years from now, right? For the long term. So that's really, really fun to get to help people with that. And yeah, I think that concludes our talk. I hope everybody signs up for the next one. And
yes. And yeah, again, as Katie mentioned, those dates may change, but we'll send out emails and make sure you have the updated and the right dates for the next future webinars.
Awesome. Thank you all for taking the time and joining. Have a wonderful rest of your evening and go eat some veggies, all right?
Yeah, thank you, everyone.